Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
Mikey, these turns are evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Ball Pit. So, Ball Pit is by Icydice on creepypasta wiki or creepypasta.fandom, however you get to the creepypasta wiki. And I will dive into the rundown. So Max, a child at a local play area in some nondescript restaurants or such, enters the ball pit area very wearily, not trusting any of the other kids that are just mindlessly having fun in and around the ball pit. He is quickly taken down in the ball pit and dogpiled by many children.
Mhm.
So much so that he can't breathe and passes out beneath the weight of the kids in the balls. When he comes to, Max finds he's on an escalator going down to a very strange, colorful carnival place. It's here that a tall man in a polka dot suit is waiting for him and happily and friendly leads him through the carnival, giving him a balloon, showing him a magic trick, and letting him ride on a carousel horse, and then even promises Max ice cream. He leads Max to a large building with strange pipes in the roof that veer off into the sky with strange fluctuating colors on it. Curiously, eventually Max asks the man about this place and what exactly it is, and the man tells Max that this place is fueled by the joy and happiness of children, and that in turn makes places like the play areas and restaurants up in the real world a much more exciting and happy place for children. Once inside the building, this is where Max is going to get his ice cream. There is a singular ice cream machine in the corner and nothing else in this room. So Max takes the cup and spoon from the man and proceeds to go to the machine. However, as he is about to get the ice cream, he stops because he is overtaken by dread. As he senses that there's something wrong about this place suddenly, and he feels the need to get out of here. The man quickly turns on Max and tries to force him to have ice cream. Max manages to escape his grasp, but the door they came from is locked, so he tries the door that was on the other side of the room and finds a room of corpse-like children hanging and wired up to tubes that are draining the life out of them. It's in here that Max flees from the man through the children and eventually loops back around to the door while the man is out in the room of children, and proceeds to break the exit door that they had originally come in through because it's made of glass. As he runs through the carnival, it all begins to gray and burn. The man giving chase begins to rot and twist, showing Max this place without the joy stolen from children. Max makes it back to the escalator, and after kicking back the man, ascends through the clouds and back into the ball pit he had started from. He gets out free, but looks back to see the children playing, unaware of the danger below, and notices that the colors of the ball pit look just a bit more vibrant than they were before. Finn. So, yeah, that was Ball Pit. So, like I said, you can check it out at creepypasta.wiki, and we'll go into our various segments, such as everyone tolerates the Grand Inquisitions. At this point, I got a couple, so I'm going to start with this one. Their weight and the sheer number of rubber balls in the pit was preventing him from breathing, and he felt some kid's knee and elbow him in the face. Okay, so first thing, rubber ball? I thought those were like plastic.
That's
like
true.
the hard plastic balls that have like air inside of them. Like they're never. I would never describe those balls as rubber.
No, they're not like solid rubber balls.
Yeah, because as soon as
Maybe
like,
that's
something
why
says,
he's
like, rubber
being
balls,
smothered by them.
yeah, they're just like so heavy. That's why when he said like the weight of the kids and the balls, it's just like because they're actually just like once you get down like a certain level like layer, it's just like heavy rubber balls, like just thick rubber balls.
Really dense, yeah.
God,
Yeah,
that would
that's
suck.
like
But-
lacrosse balls.
Yeah. Oh God. Also, I just realized that and he felt some kid's knee and elbow him in the face. As like, maybe there needs to be like he felt some kid's knee and elbow hit him in the face.
Yeah.
The way it sounds like he's like elbow him in the face, but like that and elbow him in the face is like kind
What
of
it makes it
doesn't work
sound
for me.
like is he elbowed him in the face with his knee.
Yeah, exactly.
If
Like,
he
that's-
did, fine. But how?
Yeah, it's like it sounds like it's either like that or like some kid kneed and elbowed him in the face.
Maybe he needed to elbow him in the face. Is that possible?
I don't know,
Okay.
but I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
This one's a bit of a nitpick for me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So,
Do it.
lush gardens full of pure white flowers and trees made of cotton candy substance filled his vision. So maybe use like cotton candy fluff, like just as a suggestion. Like when I first read this, I was kind of got caught up on substance, like lush gardens full of pure white flowers and trees made of cotton candy fluff filled his vision. For some reason, like and both like cotton candy substance filled his vision, or cotton candy fluff. Both are valid. It's just like for some reason, like substance wasn't clicking for me when I was reading it.
Yeah, because cotton candy is just made of sugar, so
Yeah.
it would mean that the trees are made of blocks of sugar.
Yeah.
As well.
Well,
as fluff.
okay. Well, you're applying way too much logic to this like dreamscape or this like weird like fantasy world place, because like it could easily just be like a weird like Candyland thing, like, or like Fantasyland where like the trees like literally have just like candy cotton fluff on instead of leaves. And not actually have any logic of like, oh, it's like they're made of sugar. It's like, no, they're still made of bark and wood. It's just they grow cotton candy fluff sugar.
How do you think they make cotton candy? It's from the cotton candy trees.
Yeah, clearly.
Duh.
Idiot. But no, this one for me I think was more of like a nitpick, because like, yeah, substance works, but it just seemed like for a descriptor I would have gone with like fluff rather than that. Like,
Especially since it's from the eyes of a child.
yeah, exactly. But anyways, I digress. I'll move on.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah. It felt as if in the world and happiness and joy he was currently in, there was a malicious intent within the man and the delicious sweets before him. So I feel like it was as if in the world of happiness and joy he was currently in, not as if in the world and happiness and joy.
Yeah.
And my next one here, tears began to roll down Max's face as the man squeezed harder on his arm, period. A red imprint began to form on his forearm as tears continued to roll down the young boy's face, period. That almost seems to repeat itself, like over again. Like, he's crying because the man's squeezing on his arm. The man's squeezing on his arm, and he's crying.
Yeah.
So like, I don't feel it's like the second sentence there, I don't feel is necessary.
Well,
because it's sort of like they mostly come at night, mostly.
well, you don't need the continuation of the tears, but
Yeah.
the red imprint began to form on his forearm is still semi-relevant and different from just
You
squeezing
combine
his
them
arm.
both into one sentence without doing a repeat.
Yeah, like get rid of the crying part, because like, yeah, we know he's crying. But like, yeah, the red imprint part like would definitely work as a good like additional like descriptor of like the consequences of the man squeezing his arm harder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, But I'm going to move on to the next thing here. He tried to yank himself away from the man, but with each pull, his grip only tightened. After using his small size to wiggle free from the man's grasp, he ran towards the door he entered the building from. So this two sentences didn't really kind of sit well with me, so I kind of added a few things or tweaked it a little bit. So this is what I got out of it. He tried to yank himself away from the man, but the grip only tightened. Thankfully, using his small size, he was able to wiggle free from the man's grasp, and Max ran towards the door he entered the building from. So just sort of like tweaking the like the man grabbed him like tightly, so like he couldn't get away from him. But however, like because of his small size, he was able to wiggle free. Like in the original version, it kind of didn't seem like it seemed like it was contradicting itself. Whereas I tried to tweak it so that it like sort of gave an exception to like even though the man's like tightening his grip because of Max's like small size, he was able to wiggle free.
I don't fully understand, but okay.
Okay, it was just again, maybe this is another nitpick thing, but it just seemed like because in the first sentence of the first part of the sentence, it was like he tried to yank himself away from the man, but with each pull, his grip only tightened.
Yeah, and yet all of a sudden,
after using his small size to wiggle free from the man's grasp, it's like, well, then how are you? Okay,
he remembered that he had a size modifier to his AC all of a sudden.
Yes, yeah,
that's how.
Yeah, clearly. But yeah, I just I tried to tweak it a little. I don't know how successful I was in tweaking it to like make it sound better, but
no, it makes sense now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the next thing here, the door that was locked was made of glass, and although he didn't have time to break through it before, perhaps the man's wild goose hunt would buy him some time. The issue here for me, anyway, is although he didn't have time to break through it before, I feel like it shouldn't be. And although he hadn't had time to break through it before, for me that sounded better than what it was, because it was like a tense issue for me. Also, just as a point of order, I wouldn't have mind the it's sort of, again, kind of a nitpick, and this might be actual thought fodder, but like I don't want to repeat this quote again in actual thoughts. We're just now finding out that the door was glass.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that. I was a little annoyed at that. I was like I get it. Like, we need a reason for him like to be able to break down the door. It's like, okay, it was made of glass. It's like, well, I could have used that descriptor earlier, but like maybe like just like I don't know, like maybe like put it in like as they're approaching the building, he can see through the glass door that there's nothing else. There doesn't seem to be anything in the room. However, once we got into the room or into the building, we found that there was in fact one thing in the room, an ice cream machine in the corner. Like, just to kind of like naturally put that in before, so that you're not like, so it doesn't come off to like, at least to somebody like me, we're just like, oh well, the door was made of glass, so that's how he was able to get back to it and break it, and break it open.
Yeah, it feels like it was added in the last seconds just so he had a reason to get out, or
exactly, yeah,
the ability to get out, yeah.
And then my last grammar inquisition here. The man screamed out in pain and looked up in Max, his face full of hunger and malice. I think it should be the man screamed out in pain and looked up at Max. Not looked up in Max, into Max, into his soul.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. He's just staring into Max's chest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my grammar inquisition. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
Well, you did a good job again. You're catching all the ones I caught. So that leaves a conjunction junction.
All right. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It wasn't long after the initial accident that more kids fell back into Max. It wasn't long after he started skipping down the path that he had came into contact with the owner of the mysterious and wonderful land. It was tacky, but Max looked past that and stared in awe at the man. But something was bothering Max, and although he didn't want to be rude, he also wanted to know when he would be getting his balloon. It was one of the things she told him to never do, after all. But the pull of the carnival and the promise of sweets made him forget about his mother's warning, and so he followed the man hand in hand deeper into the carnival. It was hard for him to wrap his head around the perfection before him, and he needed an answer. It was a soft-serve machine. It was because at that moment he felt an overbearing sense of dread. But something about the man and the ice cream and that moment was different from the rest of the world. It felt as if in the world and happiness and joy he was currently in, there was malicious intent within the man and the delicious sweet before him. And upon entering it, the young boy let out a scream that echoed throughout the whole carnival. And so he waded through the bodies and towards the door. It was spread out just enough to take children away, but not so widespread that it caused the closure of restaurant play areas and other places with the pits. But Max held on to hope because in the distance he could see the escalator, and he heard the kids in the sky playing in the pit. And as he watched the kids play in the pit, he did notice one thing in particular. Finn.
No.
What did he see in particular?
What a cliffhanger.
Wow. Also, I had two other things I wanted to note here. So the first thing was I like how because of the way you're because of the no context issues. It sounds like the man and the carnival are one entity. Like he was describing like the carnival and it was very tacky and some of that, and then it suddenly started talking about the man and the man walking him through the carnival. So it's like, wait, so the carnival and the man are one thing, but the man is leading him deeper into the carnival, which is himself.
That's deep.
Yeah. Also, the thing of pure perfection. It was a soft serve ice cream machine.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, no. As a kid of the '90s who has very fond memories of Pizza Hut and their ice cream bar. Yes, they are the ice cream machine. The soft serve ice cream machines are a thing of perfection.
It must also be massive because after mentioning that it's a soft serve ice cream machine and it's perfect, then it immediately talks about him going through going inside, and then there's bodies everywhere inside.
Oh yeah,
inside
that's the horror. Yeah, that's the horror drop where you realize that you gotta tell them. Don't forget to tell them. Soft serve ice cream is people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the ice cream is made of children.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I thought that's where it was going. If I'm being perfectly honest,
Yes.
I thought it was the ice cream was going to be like the souls of the damned, or I actually in the story I think it's more like that was like a set something to keep him here, keep him in this place, either some kind of a sedative that's
probably
in the ice cream, or it was again that thing that I mentioned last episode where you don't want to eat food in the weird reality or in the fantasy world or whatever, because that means that you get tied to it closer, you're getting stuck. But by eating food or consuming anything in that place, you get anchored there.
Yep.
But yeah.
And for those unaware, Mikey does these strings of sentences to highlight all the sentences in the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words.
Indeed. All right, and then Gamer, I believe you're up.
Okay. He allowed his fingers to run across the surface below him. He seemed to be on a moving platform of sorts. So for me, I don't think he'd be able to tell specifically that he was on a moving platform just from what he's feeling with his fingers.
Yeah.
Like maybe something like the air moving across his face made it feel like he was moving or something like that, you know?
Yeah, also...
Or like vibrations or something. It's not necessarily the feel of it. Like he would just feel like, okay, it's the metal stair that I'm on, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to move on to the next thing, or...
You said also, so I'm waiting for you to...
Oh, okay. I wanted to see if you were gonna say what I was gonna say,
Okay.
but I guess not, because you're gonna move on to another.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. One thing actually I do want to bring up that you just reminded me of. So he's on. We find out like after he like comes to like properly that he's on an escalator going down. However, it starts off and like.
I have a note on this. I believe.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
At least I think I know where you're going with it.
Well, like just like the conveyor belt. Like first it's a conveyor. He thinks he's on a conveyor belt. Well, he's not on a conveyor belt because like that's the last we ever hear of this conveyor belt.
Does it say conveyor?
Well, he said like he feels like he's on a conveyor belt
platform.
or something, right? Yeah, on a moving platform, which I don't think I would not like. It's like a moving platform. I would immediately think is like a conveyor belt. If it was suddenly it's an escalator. It's like, well, I wouldn't describe an escalator as a moving platform.
I wouldn't
describe
say
it
a
as
conveyor belt is a moving platform.
I mean, it's more of a moving platform than an escalator to me.
Yeah. I mean, an escalator is basically just a conveyor belt that's shaped like stairs. A moving platform is like if you have like a 5 foot by 5 foot by 1 foot piece of metal that is hooked up on like a crane that's moving it. That's a moving platform.
Well, yeah, that's exactly like, but also like if you don't have your vision, you just think you feel that you're on like a moving platform. Okay, maybe I'm just inserting like my own bias on like a conveyor belt, but yeah, I still wouldn't describe the way I would describe the like where he's on like at first it seemed like he was like on some stairs. But then he could feel like himself moving with the stairs. So like that's how I would describe it, rather than like he's on a moving platform.
Yes, like I'm agreeing with you regardless. Like whether he's
have different interpretations of what a moving platform is.
Whether he thinks it's a conveyor belt originally or a
crane operated platform.
No,
yeah,
I'm saying.
Sorry, okay.
The escalator or a conveyor belt, whatever he thinks it is immediately, regardless, those are not moving platforms.
Yes. That is true.
But now I'll move on.
Okay.
He wasn't sure how long he had been unconscious. He yawned and stretched his arms out. That sounds weird, first off. I don't have a note on this. It's saying, like, it's because of the way it's worded, of he yawned and stretched his arms out. It sounds like his arms are specifically yawning.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess. Like I understand where he's like what he's describing. It's like you stretch out your arms like and you yawn like like in the morning when you get up and like you have to stretch.
I understand that.
Okay,
but the placement of it sounds like his arms are also yawning as well as stretching. Sure. So the way I would do it is. I'll also continue my actual note that I wrote down.
Yeah, sorry.
But I would change that to he stretched his arms out and yawned before grabbing to the rail next to him. It kind of feels better that way because like the stretched is up front.
Yeah.
It's not saying he did like you're separating the verbs basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it says he was on an escalator slowly moving downward. So I kind of wanted to know what, like I wanted the story to define how slowly moving downward is, because when this is first described to me, when we had no set dressing and all we had was escalator, a normal escalator speed, it would take him like a few seconds to get to the bottom. So he couldn't have been there long, basically, is what I'm
Well, he's
saying.
coming down from heaven. So he's coming down from like this, like a cloud layer of the sky. So
He doesn't look up. He doesn't look down. At this point, all I know is he's on an escalator slowly going downward. It could be an escalator, like a 1-floor escalator in a small mall, for all I know at this point.
That's true. Yeah.
So it wasn't really described too well. Like, I would prefer the set dressing before that a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, that is sort of your want. You like to have things up front.
Yep.
Details. So.
Mm-hmm. Then, speaking of, actually, he was on an escalator slowly moving downward. And then it goes to the next line. The surrounding area was different than anything Max had seen before. The sky was lined with purple clouds and a pink hue. So, to me, shouldn't the first thing that he would notice would be the fact that he's riding an escalator outside? Not that the fact that, the sky's pink.
Yeah. The escalator that descends from the heavens.
I'm not even at the heavens part yet. I
know.
That he's in an escalator that's not
outside.
Yeah, he's on an escalator that's not in a building. That would be the first thing that I would be questioning. Like, look at the pink clouds. Isn't that nice?
Also, I would pink sky and purple clouds, but like that's not that that's something like a kid could like. I've seen that when like watching like I guess maybe it depends on like how purple those clouds are. Like maybe they're really purple, but like the way that the descriptors are, it's sort of just like it's sunrise, like on a really like red day or like a pinkish day, like 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 when like the sky like red sky in the morning sort of thing.
Yeah, and it could be one of those situations where like the sky is so vibrant and cartoony that you notice it. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? And then after what the fuck, you're like, wait, what the fuck? I'm on an escalator. I'm outside. What the hell? Like,
it's like so vibrant.
Yeah.
He's ended up in Toontown.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'll move on from there. This is probably immediately after. Max looked downward where the escalators were heading. So there's plural, actually. I didn't realize that until now. Either way, he seemed to pass through a thin layer of clouds, and below those, blah, 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 blah. So at this point, I'm like, okay, he's up in the sky now. Like, I finally have a picture of what's happening.
Yeah.
I was expecting there to be a description of the land around him after he got done talking about the sky, but then all of a sudden, it's all sky. So pretty much, the reason that I listed all these out one after another, like describing the scene, is because with every new line of information, the entire scene changed for me. At first, he was inside a mall because it was just an escalator, and that's all he said. But then all of a sudden, he was outside on some weird alien planet with pink and purplish sky. But, like he's on an escalator that's like going down into the rocky planet or whatever the hell it is. And then now all of a sudden, no, he's floating in the sky, actually. Like every single line, I had to completely erase the entire image I had in my head of this dreamscape that they're trying to describe and redraw it. Which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, it's always an uphill battle for Gamer.
Even when going downhill on an escalator.
Yeah.
So a quick little rewrite sort of way that I would do it. I didn't rewrite it word for word. I'm just kind of summarizing. Something like, while he woke up, he could feel that he was laying on something metal and felt that like it was moving. He stood up and took a moment to get his bearings. Max found himself on an escalator, yet he was outside. No land in sight. The sky was brightly lit, despite there being no sun and covered in stars. Brightly lit despite there being no sun and covered in stars without there being a moon either. So basically, like, I'm condensing, instead of doing multiple lines that are describing certain things, and like you're actually jumping down lines, mini paragraphs onto the next ones. All of it is condensed in a smaller area, so you kind of just build the scene naturally, at least in my head.
Yeah. All right, fair.
That is one of my pet peeves.
Yes. We all have them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm literally just trying to clear my throat. I'm not trying to like him.
Yes. The next one. He wore a red suit decorated with blue, purple, and yellow polka dots. So, polka dots is misspelled.
Oh, you're right.
Every single time he writes it down, it's poke dots. It's not a form of Pokemon. I'm
No,
sorry, it's not.
It's yeah.
It's polka like the type of music, like Polka, space dots. There isn't even a dash in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where he got his poke dots.
I wonder if that might be original. Maybe it's a regional dialect thing. Hang on. Checking. I'm checking. Checking. Nope.
Polka dots.
No, polka dots needs to be. It's polka dots. 2 words.
There's apparently a line of books, a series of books called Poke a Dot.
Yeah,
it's probably like a Connect the Dots book.
I'm also actually. Well, I'm seeing there's some people that have misspelled it for their branding on Etsy. Like first thing that comes up on Google search is like polka dots or polka dots, like the way it's spelled in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like just like a space between them, not like a dash.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing some instances of dashes being used in this search here.
Yeah.
But either way, the main thing is it's not poke, polka.
Interesting. I'm going slipping down a rabbit hole of what is the history of polka dot? Polka
And
dot
we've
is a
lost
pattern consisting of an array of large filled circles
They don't have
of
to be
the
large.
same size. Polka dots are commonly seen on children's clothing, toys, furniture, ceramics, and Central European folk art, but they appear in a wide array of contexts. Huh.
Not just children's stuff, like
No, but like that's how Wikipedia is presenting it.
not fair.
I think it's like children's clothing, but yeah, like and like what's funny is like children's clothing, and then it shows like a woman with like polka dots.
Yeah, like,
like
a polka dot dress. Yeah, that's what I was immediately going to mention. Either way, this is not important to the story.
Yeah, we have slipped. I've slipped down the escalator going down to the polka dot land.
All right, my next one.
Yes.
Max didn't look back. He kept running. Sorry, he just kept running. To think that all the ball pits in the world were fueled by this place, it was spread out just enough to take children away, but not so widespread that it caused the closure of restaurant play areas or other places with pits. The Ferris wheel fell off its hinges and crashed down to the ground below it. Carousel horses were blah, 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 blah. So, I bring this section up because I feel like it needs to jump to the next paragraph when he finishes his little thought. Because he's describing, like, this is what the ball pits do. They're fueled by this place. And this is why they're not all getting shut down. But then immediately blends into the scene that's happening right now with the circus being destroyed around him. They're entirely different subjects, so it should jump down.
Yeah, I actually agree with that because it was like,
Yeah, I thought
like
he was somewhere still talking about this like theorizing thing, talking about Ferris wheels. Now I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then somewhere up in the surface world near one of these restaurants, a Ferris wheel comes off its hinges because Max is disrupting the engine, the joy engine. It's like causing like some disaster up in the real world.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be like basically saying like up in the real world, as soon as anyone starts to think about hey, I wonder if it's the ball pits, then a nearby Ferris wheel falls off its hinges and like pulls aggro, basically.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that kills them, it just pulls the investigation away.
Yeah. Oh, what's this? Yeah, exactly. It's like, snap.
Hey, look, a distraction. That's killing people.
Yeah. There were a dozen people on that Ferris wheel when it came down. Oh God. Let's think about that more than the whole like ball pit conspiracy.
Yes, of course. And my last one. What started out as a 50-yard head start was now only a 20-foot distance. So this is the second or third time this has happened, but it keeps shifting from using yards to feet quite often. And maybe it's more normal outside of Canada, but it's kind of confusing to me because I know generally that here in Canada we use feet and meters. Generally, we don't use yards. But even from my experience of using feet and meters, if it's a smaller distance, you just use feet. We're only busting out meters and kilometers for larger distances, like in a GPS, you know? If you're just describing running away from a guy, you just use feet. Because, like, I don't know the conversion good enough that I have to... Like, I get how far 20 feet is. I don't know how far 50 yards is. So every time it mentioned yards, I had to Google a freaking translator or a conversion table to find out what that is in feet so I can actually see it in my head as how far away he actually is.
Yeah, and also I just quickly checked it. Yeah, the U.S. customary system of measurement is inches, feet, yards, and miles.
Yes.
So that's why, there is definitely a difference between it would be the difference between us saying like a 50-meter head start turned into a 20-foot.
But even that annoys me because you're using two different. That's my whole point. I'm not hating on the yards system. I'm hating on the fact that it's using two different systems of measurement.
Units? No, it's using two different units.
Units of measurement, yeah. For the same thing. It's describing like during this chase scene, it's two of them, like feet and yards, which is confusing. It would just be 150 feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree because I preferred it having the I can understand why they went with the yards over feet because it's still to me it conveys a great distance, and then cut to 20 went from 50 yards. To me it fits, but this might be a agree to disagree thing.
150 feet, you could sprint that in 5-10 seconds, not even. It's not that far. My driveway is 100 feet long, so my driveway plus half. How quick can you run up that? Not you specifically, but people. I'm not bringing your athleticism into context into question.
Yeah, because that's not good. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. It's a small enough distance that it shouldn't matter. It should just stay with the smaller one and keep it consistent. It's consistency. That's what I'm talking.
All right, fair enough.
You are
also be happy if it kept with yards, so it would end up being 50 yards turned into about 6-yard.
Yeah.
Distance.
Or keep it with feet, just either or.
All right, fair.
It's akin to if a story is using brackets and also italics to do the same thing, pick one and just use one, That's my opinion as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the end of my grammar in yellow.
All right. Then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts then. So I'm going to start with this one here. His eyes fluttered before he completely blacked out. And thus was the end of Max. Wait, this is paragraph 4 on page 1 of a 7-page story.
Yeah.
Just this is it's he passes out for the crushing as he's losing air and drowning in this ball pit, and then it cuts to black. It's and credits. Or was it? Yeah, so then continuing on, he was on an escalator slowly moving downward. The surrounding area was different than anything Max had ever seen before. The sky was aligned with purple clouds and pink hues. So as he's describing as his descent down from the heavens after just passing out from the crushing weight in the ball pit and such, I was first thought here, is Max in hell? Is Max descending down to hell?
Yeah, that's what I first thought. I thought he was waking up. Sorry, I'm not trying to jump in, but I thought he was waking up. He was gonna wake up in heaven, and God's you know what? No, just send him back down, and they just throw him on the escalator, let him slowly ride down.
See, I thought it was it's like the Kenny moment in the South Park movie. It's what is this place? Among the stars. Is this heaven? No! Little boy, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that
kind
song.
of scene.
It's awesome.
Oh, it's so good. But then my other thought was like, oh no, this entire story is going to be a dream, isn't it? And update, after reading the story, this sort of totes the line between a mundane element or a mundane explanation and something actually supernatural. And you know what? Fuck all you guys who are like, oh, it's mundane, or oh, it's ruined. It's ruined because it's probably just a mundane thing. It's not supernatural at all. Fuck you guys. I like the fact that this
I didn't
totes the
say
line.
anything.
I wasn't yelling at you. It's just anybody who does this. I wasn't going to name names. Mikey. No.
Yeah, it was totally a dream. Like, he just gets knocked out in a ball pit and then he wakes up.
You know what other story does that? The First Book of Narnia, Pan's Labyrinth, and several other pieces of literary work and movies where children go to a strange mystical world, but then at the very end, it sort of insinuates that it could have all been make believe. Like they pop out of a cupboard, and it was like they were all just like playing hide and seek in a wardrobe, or in Pan's Labyrinth, it sort of totes the line of like, is this all in the kid's head, or is this actually happening? Like, is the character in a coma, or are they actually dealing with some kind of weird fantasy world? That's and like, what is it all in their? Is it all a dream, or is it like they went to another? They were propelled to another world. Like, hell, John Carter of Mars literally has that. As the teleportation device to Mars. John Carter dies, or like is dying on Earth, and blacks out, and his consciousness teleports across the stars to Barsoom, which is Mars in the alien language, in the Barsoomian language, and that's when he like has his whole grand adventures on Mars, and then he teleports back to his body on Earth. So was it all a dream of a dying man, or was it actually a fantastical sci-fi adventure on Mars?
Yeah,
like it happened. Like this happens a lot in stories where like they tote the line so at the end, like it leaves the audience or the reader to decide for themselves if what they experienced was an actual like fantastical thing that happened, or was it all in the character's head? And I feel like this story by the end kind of, for me anyway, it totes the line properly. Like it sort of creates that balancing act where like I could go the mundane rounds, like, oh, this was all like in this kid's head as he was suffocating down in the bottom of the ball pit, or this kid actually had this weird experience and it was all supernatural, and there's some weird some weird conspiracy in this of a supernatural sort where like ball pits and like play areas across the world are literally being fueled by the souls of the damned.
Yep.
And I like it, like the way they presented that in the story. So sorry, I just had to get that out.
Can I
It's
say
like,
a thing?
No.
Okay.
No, you can go.
I actually never thought of the mundane option at all.
See, oh, okay, fair enough.
Just saying. I stayed in lore the entire time.
See, I can't help but like look at like multiple facets of things. Mm-hmm. that's my cross to bear. But like, yeah, I was like reading this, like, okay, this could go either way. This could be like, again, he's suffocating through the eyes of a child, or the fun route. This is all supernatural. Like, he's been given an insight into the magical world. Like, his soul was taken from his body at the bottom of the ball pit and taken down to a supernatural location. That's how I'm gonna personally. That's my headcanon, is that it was supernatural side. But I could see the argument that it was mundane. But fuck those guys.
All right.
Yeah, sorry. I had a lot on my chest on that one, because like as I was reading the story, it was like, oh no. So I'm gonna move on. Move on from that.
Okay. Get that out now?
Yeah, I feel better now.
Good.
So he was a rather tall man, and his skin was pale and smooth.
Sorry.
He off.
Just the wording. Did we fix that wording? He was tall man?
No, he was a rather tall man.
Oh, all I heard was he was tall man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, shit. Okay, yeah. He was a rather tall man, and his skin was pale and smooth. He opened his mouth to reveal a toothy grin made up of teeth treated with the most proper of hygienic care. And the sight of the man caused Max to smile as well. He wore a red suit decorated in blue, purple, and yellow polka dots. It's Splendor Man! Sorry, like, literally, like, almost fits the bill. Like, if the suit wasn't red, if it was like black, and with like because otherwise that's like literally if you look up Splendor Man, that's kind of fits the bill. And there's another character that this character fits, but I'm going to get to that in a moment with my next quote, actually. So this is Max talking to the man and stuff. It's like, how is this place so huge and colorful? Max asked. Although he was just a small boy, he was still curious as to how something so impossible could be real. It was hard for him to wrap his head around the perfection before him, and he needed an answer, not out of suspicion, but out of curiosity. You see, Max, you're dead. This is heaven. No, that's not what it says. But that was like my first thought. Like Ray is like, you see, Max. Yeah. You see, Max, this place is always so bright and happy because it's fueled by the happiness and joy of the world. The joy acts like a battery here, and soon you can help this world be even brighter and more perfect. I can tell you're a good child, Max. I know for a fact that the rest of the children would be excited to have your joy help fuel theirs. So aside from my comment earlier is like, well, Max, you're dead. This is heaven. Ignore the fact that the escalator went in reverse down from the heavens. As soon as I was like reading this part,
your soul is going to go to heaven so hard that you overshot heaven and you have to go back down to heaven.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, that's totally what it is.
Yeah.
Ignore the red. Ignore the red devil tail that's like flapping behind me.
Yeah, it's nothing.
In my disguise.
It's Halloween.
It's Halloween up in heaven. Halloween heaven. Heaven Halloween. I don't know. But yeah, as I was reading this part of like this place is fueled by is like a battery and it's powered by joy and happiness. Like that's what's fueling this place and such. I was suddenly pulled back to the Secret World, an MMORPG that I play with Gamer and some friends. That is basically like supernatural, like secret world. Literally the secret world of the earth, like everything is like all the urban legends and conspiracy theories are true, like the Illuminati, Templar, they all exist as factions. There's like all manner of supernatural entities and stuff like that, including the founder of the abandoned amusement park, Atlantic Island Park.
Oh yeah.
Who Nathaniel Winter, who built that now a haunted amusement park as an engine or battery to harvest the joy and happiness from children who went to the park, so that he could gain that as power and have immortal life. Nathaniel Winter. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You learn that actually in the park, in like the spin-off game, The Park, and I think through the quest lines that are in Atlantic Island Park in the Secret World. Nathaniel Winter even looks somewhat similar to the Tall Man here, and even more so when the Tall Man like starts twisting and rotting into his horrible into his joyless form. When Nathaniel Winter eventually, through the power that he accumulates from the Soul Engine or whatever the amusement park is, he eventually becomes the boogeyman of the Secret World. And he's like this horrible, twisted, lanky, tall figure in a suit and top hat. And obviously, I'm not insinuating that this story is riffing off of that directly, but it's probably because I'm a huge Secret World Legends fan, and I recently played the spin-off game, The Park, literally yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
so after reading the story, I was like, wow, that I'm connecting dots. I'm connecting polka dots that may not necessarily be actually connected, but like there I am. And also, I just really love the idea of somebody creating some kind of occult engine or supernatural like engine that is powered by the souls of joy, or either powered by the souls of the damned, like by damned children, or powered by the emotions of children, like fueled by joy or happiness and laughter, to like power some occult design. Like that's so up my wheelhouse. It's not even funny.
So you really like Power Rangers because the main
Yes.
villain steals people's energy.
Maybe that's why because I loved Power Rangers as a kid, so maybe that is literally it. Is like I
love
still
Power Rangers
harbor that
now.
idea.
It's still
I mean,
awesome.
I just haven't watched it.
I haven't either.
As an adult.
I'm sure
But yeah, maybe that's
season's
where
still
that originated, like that and like Sailor Moon or like Card Captors, like those kind of like shows that I watched as a kid.
Card Captors?
Like
it's
yeah,
relevant. Please continue.
yeah. So yeah, that's the part here, and then continuing on the sort of train of thought. Here's the next quote I have. The man's expression changed again. This time, however, it was one of frustration. He placed one hand on Max's shoulder and used the other to grab his arm. He squeezed tightly, and his voice was different. The previously cheerful tone he once held was replaced with anger. His teeth were clenched. His veins were starting to become more noticeable through his head. Listen here, Max. Listen when I'm speaking to you. Do you want the rest of the kids in the ball pit to have a bad time just because you wouldn't eat ice cream? I'm trying to help you enjoy yourself. And as a result, you'll help the kids up there have the time of their lives. But no, you'd rather be a loser. Do you want to be known for being a disappointment, Max? Do you want to be known as a loser? So this this shift from like cool, weird, supernatural, happy place to like it all being a facade to like angering the demigod or the entity that owns this realm, and like having it being turned over and like having it all being through like the lens of a child. Man, this story for me, perfect seed scenario for a Little Fears RPG game or Monster and Other Childish Things. Like where all the characters, where all the player characters are like children who end up in this place. And like first act of the scenario is like they've all wound up here, and the character, like the man, the tall man, is all happy and letting them like you're having a fun time. You're going on the rides. You're having food, like cotton candy and stuff like that, or having a balloon and stuff. And then Act 2 happens in the scenario, and the character, like the tall man character, is revealed to be like an evil like monster who is like literally like has you here so that he can steal your soul, or like steal your soul, your life energy, to fuel this place and keep it running. And he's doing so like all like he does so by like you were all like stolen from various ball pits across the country or something. Like maybe you're not even like all friends. You're just like strangers who like woke up on the escalator going down from like different locations.
Yeah.
So, I could feel like it could be like, yeah, you're a group of friends that gets all sucked down at once, or like you're all separate children that have been taken from other parts of the world to this nether realm where this engine is going. It's like, it almost kind of reminds me of like, it's like a supernatural pitcher plant in a way, or like some kind of like it's like a network of pitcher plants where like it attracts children because of like its play areas and stuff like that, but they're all linked to this supernatural like base where the children's soul, or at least one or two children's souls at a time are digested into energy for this place. But yeah, honestly, like, yeah, again, as I read the story, huge like scenario idea, like fodder, like gaming fodder, and I'm here for it. And then we get this quote here. Max looked back and saw the man. His entire appearance had changed. His suit was stained and tattered, and the previously bright colors were dull. His hair was neat before, but was now a greasy mess of white. His skin was deteriorating and rotting, and he smelled of death and disease. And then this man was revealed to be Nathaniel Winter. Seriously, if you look up the Secret World Legends, or the park and the boogeyman they're in, it's a pretty good stand-in for what the tall man looks like. At least to me, anyway. Has a tattered suit, white crazy hair underneath the top hat. Very lanky looking figure, his body's warped and twisted and decaying. He looks like a corpse inside the suit. So yeah, I was just getting major game fodder vibes and major Secret World Legends vibes, and I was here for it because of that.
It was a good look.
And again, I like the just the overall again, the Secret World Legends stuff and all that kind of aside. The idea that the story is presenting of this weird place that's being fueled by the souls of children, it's gonna sound weird. I like that idea. I love that idea as a piece of fiction, in fiction. I love that idea.
The idea of using children as batteries, I'm for it.
Mwah, chef's kiss. I looked at the Matrix. And I was like, hold my beer. We can make this better.
Yeah.
Children. All children. Does that make me a bad person?
No, because it's not real.
Yeah, exactly. That's the trick. It's all fiction. I like it. I would hate it in real life, obviously, but in fiction, this is this is something that a monster would do, a supernatural monster would do. It's something a fiend would do. So yeah, I'm all for it. And then onto my last actual thought. He watched all the swarming in the pit, like a bunch of animals, ignorant of what lies below. Wake up, sheeple. Sorry, honestly, that's the one thing that invoked in me when I read that, where he's watching all the kids playing around, and he just shouts at them. It's wake up, you sheeple! You're all cattle.
Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't say anything when he gets out.
No, it just ends. It ends before he can do that. He just looks on, is marveling at. It does look a little bit brighter and cheerful in here. And then Finn, end, as a good horror story do. But yeah, that's my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
Well, Gamer already talked about the moving platforms escalator issue. So I had that in my actual thoughts, but it's already been talked about. So we don't need to go over that again.
Yeah, I almost put it in my actual thoughts too, but the reason I put it under grammar is because the grammar is the reason that I didn't understand what it was.
Yeah, you had an issue with how it was written in the story. I would count that as a grammar inquisition rather than a plot thing, which is what we usually have for actual thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, just me putting it in the wrong spot. Go me.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to that segment?
No, just that sort of I envisioned him laying down, and then he's waking up and he's on a platform, and then suddenly he's on an escalator, and it's well, the escalators don't have room for you to lay down on.
Or you're going to feel that you're on the stairs if you're
laying down at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, and there's points that are digging into you at a pattern. The edges of the steps are probably going to be digging into parts of your back as you're doing it. So it's not going to be a flat object, unless maybe it was a conveyor belt up in the clouds, but then it transitioned to an escalator. But
you really want it to be a conveyor belt.
I did. All right, I did.
Yeah, long story short on that is there's a lot of ways that you can describe it as an escalator, because that's what it is, instead of just it feels like a moving platform.
Yeah, and this story did not describe it as an escalator initially. But yeah.
All right. Then my next actual thought is about something that I feel could have gone somewhere, but it ends up not going anywhere. So here's the quote here. "There, kid, you got a 2-for-1 deal. I did a magic trick and made you a balloon. Now, if you behave and have tons of fun, you can get even more prizes." So when I read that, I thought that he had made Max into a balloon.
Oh no.
So now thinking that, at the end, the one thing he noticed could have been so much different. So I have it. "And as he watched the kids play in the pit, he did notice one thing in particular. Max was a balloon."
He was
What
still
a
a balloon.
twist.
That would have been really cool. Like, yeah, like, oh god, can you imagine like being like a parent like watching the kids in the ball pit, like seeing this one kid like get tackled down like underneath the ball pit, and going like, man, that kid's been down underneath the ball pit for like a good solid like 5-10 minutes now. Is he okay? And then just watching like a few minutes later, like after 10-20 minutes have gone by, and like maybe like maybe the parent calls somebody, like calls like a staff member or something, looks over as a balloon just like emerges out of the ball pit where the kid had like drowned in.
Yeah. Also, you, sir, are assuming that this took 10-20 minutes. He could have been down there for 10 seconds and came back.
That's true. Yeah, like supernatural, both dream logic, dream sequences, and like supernatural locations. It only takes like seconds for things to happen. So like, yeah, it's like there's a time dilation in that kind of situation. Again, I think that's actually how like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe ended. Like they spent literally years in Narnia, like throughout the entire like book. They were 30 or 40-year-olds by the time they found the wardrobe again on the Narnia side. And then when they passed through, they were children again, and it had only been a few seconds, or like been a few it only been a few minutes when the man who owned the house that they were in arrived in the room and saw that they had just like all like fallen out of the wardrobe, and they were playing hide and seek. So just to take it back to that. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Mikey, for stealing it again, stealing your spotlight again.
Yeah. So I think that would have been an interesting twist at the end, and it's already there. You just have to put it in.
Balloon horror.
Yeah.
It's underappreciated in the genre. Like we really only just have the Stephen King, Tim Curry It miniseries with the balloons, like the bloody balloons that pop up. But
speaking on endings, I also came up with another alternate ending. And as he watched the kids play in the pit, he did notice one thing in particular. The pit seemed different than it had before. This wasn't the same ball pit that Max went into.
oh shit!
Oh yeah, he could be anywhere now.
Yeah, because like there were multiple escalators. He may not have taken the one that he was running for. He originally came down from. See, that's not. Yeah, whatever. See, that's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were like, there is one thing he noticed about the ball pit. He saw a dead, lanky arm exposed to the ball pit, and that's when he realized Max was a ghost. Like,
yeah,
he escaped hell.
An arm hanging out of the ball pit with the same watch he had on.
Yeah, like basically insinuating that like his soul went to that hell place, and then he escaped, but he didn't get back to his body. His body's still dead at the bottom of the ball pit.
I like the teleportation option though.
Yeah, I do too. Like I think all of them kind of work in their own way. Like all the endings we've come up with. Like again, that's what I like about this story is like it kind of lends it to like it could be a couple of things if you like add a few extra words.
Yes. You could change a lot with a little.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that true about a lot of things though?
There's entire sentences that I've completely changed the meaning with just putting a comma in.
or even just like having a slight like intention or like what? No, that's a word, not intention.
Inflection.
Having a slight inflection on something can change the entire meaning of a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, there are no still wolves, or there are no wolves in the. There are no wolves in the Stillwood. There are no wolves in the Stillwood. There are no
Yes.
wolves in the Stillwood. Yeah. There are no still wolves. Still Wolves is my Icar Falls High School ska band.
Oh, nice. We have a lot of ska bands, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. I've lived many lives in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's into my actual thoughts.
As always, you got some bangers. So, all right, gamer, you're up.
Okay. Their weight and sheer number of rubber balls in the pit was preventing him from breathing. So, as a kid, I recall you could quote-unquote swim along the bottom of a ball pit and be just fine for air.
Yeah.
Like, that would not be killing you.
Well, yes. Does it say just the weight of the
The weight,
does just it does say that, yeah.
but it's it's their weight, as in the kids.
Yeah.
Their weight and the sheer number of rubber balls in the pit was preventing him from breathing, and he felt some kid's knee and elbow him in the face.
Yes, but what I'm getting at is the amount of balls around him had nothing to do with him not having air. It's all him being suffocated from being dogpiled by 15 kids, apparently.
Yeah, but these kids just like apparently like what we're not hearing is that he didn't want to go. What? What we're not hearing is that these kids all knew this kid, like all knew Max, and were like, "This fucking shit disturber." I was like, "What did you say, Max? What did you say about my mom? You better not go in the ball pit."
You fucked up if you go in there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like you're saying, like I do recall, like it wasn't the ball pit necessarily, the balls of the ball pit that were like the problem when you're in there. Like it can get kind of claustrophobic when you're down there, but it's like swimming, like you said, like you can just kind of like shimmy around like underneath it. It's really the weight of the children,
yes,
the other kids.
So the start of the story happens, and he's like all sad, and he doesn't want to be there, and he's pouting, being a negative Nancy about everything, and then he gets tackled.
Yep.
And then he wakes up on the escalator, doesn't react to it at all, goes through the clouds, sees the circus at the bottom, gets there, skips along the path with him, with the creature there. He's like reacting to none of this at all.
Yeah.
And my note on that is just like nothing phases this kid, it seems, at all.
Not till the ice cream. Not till he's about to like get ice cream. He's like, wait, this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's again like maybe some points against the story, but we don't know the full age of this kid. I mean, like kids tend to accept things way more easily than adults. So
yeah, he could be
like
5 to 35. Like last week, I played in a ball pit.
I
have my own personal ball pit out back
with children.
No, it's my own ball pit.
Oh, okay. No, you're talking about you. I mean, I thought you meant like Max is actually a 35-year-old.
No,
like going to a ball pit with a bunch of kids. Like,
no.
But also like, yeah, like the Nice cultist takes so many things at like face value, like just like, oh yeah, sure, this is fine, this is totally fine. When like I'm like, and like meanwhile I'm looking at the same thing, I was like, oh, this is definitely like no bueno. But like she's like totally nonplussed by it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's fair. However, like it just seems weird considering his personality, which kind of blends into my next one here, because of the intro of his. This is the intro of his personality. Max didn't particularly like other children, but his mother told him to make some friends. Max slowly descended into the pit with a frown on his pale little face. Almost immediately after entering, a small boy tossed himself onto Max and sent him tumbling into the center of the arena. Max resurfaced with a scowl painted on his lips. That is how Max is first described to us.
Yeah.
And then cut to him waking up in the dream world or whatever he's in. And then all of a sudden he's super happy. It's like he's a different kid.
Yeah, that is true. Like he was the Debbieest of downers.
Yeah.
in the beginning of this, and then I want to actually, I need to look like back to the story where where the tall man talks about the other children, because like does he react at all about like in a negative way about like there's other kids here?
Yes. Well, kind of. It was more wasn't negative, it was more surprised, and he was questioning it because the guy was talking about other kids, and then he's like, "What other kids? There's no one else here."
Yeah, I feel like I what do you mean? Yeah, I actually got it right now. The children of the ball pit. Okay, so like I feel like more could have been added there, because like maybe he's fine. Like again, like there's no other children around the carnival as far as he knew. It was just him and the other and like the tall man. So like he's actually happier now, like because he's actually in like a paradise for himself. But then as soon as the children get brought up earlier, he like I feel it says like Max stopped for a moment. Other children. He hadn't seen any other kids. Since he stepped into the carnival. No, he hadn't seen anyone but the man. I feel like there should have been a little bit extra here where like Max frowned suddenly became very distressed. It's like, oh no, more children. No, like I don't want to share this place with anybody else. Like
Yeah, he should be putting his frown back on at this point, because the whole reason he was sad before is because he didn't want to socialize.
Yeah, and then maybe that's when the tall man like shows a little bit extra more to him, where it's just like there's like a moment where he like kind of he also has a frown, but you don't know why yet. And then he like brightens up. It's like, well, don't worry, Max. We'll get you some ice cream, and that'll make you feel better. And like, oh, ice cream, yeah. And like he's trying to like keep Max happy and joyful, because that's how this place goes. Like this place can't have a toxic, or can't have a Debbie Downer there. Otherwise, it ruins the energy flow.
You see, that's something that they could have done that's interesting with this. He could have used his Debbie Downerism specifically to like to dampen the effects of the place and like wreck the experience. Like basically he just ran away. That's how he got away. But they could have done something interesting by using negativity as a positive in this to beat the system, basically.
I mean, maybe. I'm gonna bring something from the park. Actually, like the game, The Park.
Mhm.
The reason why the boogeyman, like the reason why the story, like during the story of that, the main character Lorraine and her son go into Atlantic Island Park, but like they have a strange relationship. Like the mother and daughter, like the mother and the son, like the mother actually kind of resents her son, and is just kind of like they have a very toxic, kind of unhealthy relationship between like mother and son, like. And it's actually their like depression and or Lorraine's depression, like postpartum depression, and like a bunch of like her like anxiety and her dark mood, and her sort of just sort of unfortunate a hatred for her own son that's like kind of deep seated from like when she gave birth to him and stuff, and like all the circumstances about her like her crummy life. When they go to the park, the boogeyman's actually like the reason why the boogeyman there is like after them and stuff like that, and like wants Lorraine like to deal with her son and stuff like that, is because they're not happy, and this place generates it's supposed to harvest happiness, not sadness. So they're actually like antagonistic. Like the whole reason the place is antagonistic to Lorraine and her son is because they're unhappy in it. So it kind of reminded me of this, where like the boogeyman, or like the tall man, shifts gears to try and make Max happy, and like starts revealing his more sinister intent because he's suddenly unhappy.
Yes,
and like caught up with dread. But yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. Being sad is counterproductive to the area. So like for example with the door, instead of kicking it down, he could have been like using negativity to destroy the door instead of just kicking it down or something, because the whole thing, you can see outside when he runs away, the whole place is deteriorating. Like
fair.
Stuff's falling away because he's not happy anymore. So he could have weaponized that basically.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely a take you could go with this, is like using your negativity rather than having that feed into the engine of this place, rather than the happiness, and have that like help the character rather than hinder them.
Yeah, because pretty much every other time that a character is negative in a story, that's just because they're sad and negative at the start, and then they become happier by the end or whatever. Or they stay the same, but it doesn't help them really.
Yeah.
This potentially has a way to have negativity be a positive. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. And also, like, this story does kind of it goes that route, but doesn't go as far as you're suggesting, where it's like
Yeah.
his negativity kicks in and helps reveal the sinister intent of this place.
Mhm.
But then it doesn't go any further of like he just outruns everything. He doesn't actually like use his negativity to tear down obstacles.
He does
like
it
you were saying.
unintentionally, I guess. But either way, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. But either way, the long and short of my whole thing here is just he doesn't seem like the same kid when he gets there.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. There needs to be more. When you know where it is when he first wakes up, there's no scene of him being like, "Fuck, I knew." I told mom I didn't want to go to the ball pit. Like he's immediately happy. He's not even sad that he was just smothered. It's such a sharp change. It needs to blend a little bit. Just have like one or two lines of him being annoyed and then realizing where he is and like, oh, it's really pretty here. Oh wow. Like I'm fine with him being happy with how nice it is. There just has to be a blend.
Yeah, or even like you're going with like he's pissed off as soon as he gets down there, or maybe like as soon as he wakes up, it's like oh finally I'm away from all that bullshit. Like he's relieved rather than annoyed, like because he's away from all the children and like all that the stuff he didn't want to do. But then he becomes like, oh, this place is so much cooler than where I was.
Yeah,
and there's no children, there's no other kids. Fuck those kids.
Yeah,
yeah.
Either way, yeah. The whole vibe I got from him is he's like getting an early start on his angsty teen phase, but that was only really in the intro, and it should be throughout. So I'll move on.
I mean, again, not to counter you, but like that's also not just angsty like a early angsty teen like that. That could literally just be a child who doesn't want to do something, and they will stay miserable if they are told they have to do something and they don't want to do it. They are going to be miserable to counter you. Like Niece Cultus has done that multiple times. She is a monster.
Good. She was raised to be.
Yes.
Anyways, moving on.
As the prophecies foretold. I mean, what?
I heard nothing. So, regarding the room of hanging kid bodies.
Yeah.
The sentences we say on this show. Anyways, I kind of wish it was described that they weren't all kids, but their ages ranged from kids to adults, but they were all in kid-sized clothes, which would basically be saying that he's been doing this for ages, and he keeps them alive for years and years as batteries.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, that might be a hint that like they aren't actually the physical forms of these people, but they're like just the souls that are being like siphoned. Like their outward appearance still looks like a body, but it's actually just a soul. That's why they haven't aged. But
with that, and Max is a soul right now too, because he's interacting with the bodies.
Yeah, because like I'm partially of the inclination that like he left his soul departed his body that's underneath the ball pit and is in this hellscape.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like like again, there's multiple stories that do this or multiple movies that do this where the character's like soul gets taken and then they come back to their body. Hell, the Warriors of Virtue did that. Kinda.
The Warriors of Virtue? That's what is that?
The one with the kangaroo karate kangaroos. The kid jumps in goes into like a water like a spiraling water pit by accident and like washes up into like the weird land, and then the movie reverts back to like when he's about to cross the beam that would like send him into the water pit, but he decides not to.
I've never seen that.
Really?
No.
Oh, it's a fun. It was a fun movie when I was a teen. When I was like a early teen. But
the only karate kangaroo I can think of is the secret character from Streets of Rage 2 that is a karate kangaroo.
Man, we need to sit down and watch the terrible like late '90s, early 2000s movie.
And I'm fine with that.
All right. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to. What?
Rue was the kangaroo from Street Rage.
Yeah, that's what they actually called the kangaroos in the Warriors of Virtue, like the Roos as well. I wonder if it's actually a homage to that, maybe. But yeah, sorry. Going back to your stuff, like I also don't hate your idea of like some of the bodies just being like they're older, but they've been siphoned for years.
Mm-hmm.
That is also
even
kind of
just like
unnerving.
desiccated corpses by the end of it, like aged, grandfatherly, or even straight up skeletons by the end of it.
Yeah, or just desiccated husks. Hell, no, desiccated husks are just like they're just discarded and like thrown into like a corner.
Yeah, a dumpster over there with a whole bunch of them in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing so, not discarding bodies, having the aged batteries, would explain why no one's caught him, or even like I'm talking like he's a freaking criminal. He's a magical demon.
He's a supernatural criminal. You know, the SNTF haven't caught wind of this yet.
That's true. But either way, it would explain why no one's caught him if he's been doing it like slowly over the span of decades. Because the amount of kids here, if they're all kids and they're all theoretically aging, and that means he would have taken all of them within the past couple of years. So like a mass disappearance of kids.
Well, and Max brings that up is like they've been getting away with this because these kids just go missing when they go to play areas, but because this place is connected to all the ball pits in the world. He's able to get away with this because those kids just end up missing. But they never get found again.
I guess.
And it's like, yeah, like I'm not like that. If you have thousands and thousands of ball pits connected to this place, over the course of like several decades, because I think ball pits have only been around for like probably by the 50s at the latest, if I had to guess. So like say like 5 decades over the course of like across the entire world, you steal one child every so often from a ball pit. That kid's not that kid's just going to disappear, like go missing. They're not going to like the people are going to assume that they left the ball pit and left the building or got away from the building and like they were never found again. Like that shit just happens. Like hell, people have gone missing in cities and places. Like children have gone missing like that in even more like with people watching them. Kids have gone missing and never been found again. Like, so it's not that hard to believe that like this whole, if this is some kind of like dark conspiracy of like children going missing at play areas.
Yeah, and it is worldwide, so it's a little easier to swallow.
Yeah.
So I attempted a Google search of how many ball pits are in the world. Surprisingly, it did not show up. I did find the history of the ball pit. It was first created in 1976 at SeaWorld Captain's Kids World in San Diego as a result of this guy's experience at Ontario Place.
Wow! So ball pits have a Canadian heritage,
Canadian inspiration created by an American.
Yeah. So just like Superman.
Actually, no. Eric McMillan is a Canadian designer. Never mind.
Yeah.
So it is Canadian.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Fucking A.
Even more proud of my ball pit. All of the balls are yellow, by the way.
Of course. As is your want. Yeah, exactly. You don't have any like any reddish yellows or any bluish yellows?
A couple, but just for target practice.
Okay.
The whole point of my ball pit is so I can dive in there and swim through the balls while attacking targets. It's a very important skill that I totally need as a ninja.
Clearly. Also, I'm on the ball pit wiki, like the Wikipedia entry. Not okay. There's not a wiki. Yeah, so it says like So the first ball pit was created by Eric McMillan, or Merrick McMillan, Eric McMillan, in 1976. So that's so about the 70s is when ball pits came around. And then there's an urban legend thing. It's like beginning in the late 1990s, a number of urban legends arose about children being severely injured or killed in ball pit encounters with vipers or hypodermic needles. There is no truth to these stories, however.
Like snakes?
Yeah, like I guess like if ball pits like if they're across the globe, like there are like in Australia, in like other parts of the world where like vipers and like rattlesnakes and snakes can get in. Like if it's like at a carnival and stuff like that. Hell, anywhere that any place that has like poisonous snakes, and they have a carnival with ball pits, there's a chance that a snake is going to snake into there. And like again, like once they get disturbed by like a child moving around a ball pit, they're gonna strike. So, and then hypodermic needles. Like again, like some junkies could be like in there and or like drop some needles in there to hide it. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. It's like they're right after the history of the ball pit, there is an urban legend section in the Wikipedia entry.
Yeah, that is weird because most people looking up a ball pit probably would not be interested in that. They're like, oh, ball pits are fun. Yeah, kids like them. By the way, people apparently maybe died, but probably not.
Don't think about it too much.
Yeah. Anyways, in popular culture, in the Johnny Bravo episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll move on from here.
Yes.
This is also
we'll climb out of the rabbit hole ball pit area.
Yes. And we are still in the room of hanging kid bodies, but in a different way now.
Okay.
I'm just going to read this section.
What a lovely row of death.
Yeah. Max could hear the man only 10 or so feet behind him. He was stronger and faster than Max, moving through the bodies with ease. Max knew he had to do something fast. Thoughts raced through his mind, but in his panic, he somehow found a moment of clarity to think. The children's feet were only a foot above the floor, and with Max's height, he could drop down and view the surrounding area. He got down on his stomach and saw the man's feet moving towards his direction. He silently crawled in the opposite direction and did a loop around the man before standing back to his feet. I imagine this is just like he spun around, dropped to the floor, and scuttled along the floor, circle strafing him within like 2 seconds. Because he's only 10 feet behind him, and he is, quote unquote, stronger and faster than Max, moving through the bodies with ease. So he did not have a lot of time.
Yeah, I literally like I was letting the story get away with it, but like honestly in my head it was like, and Max dropped down to his stomach and was immediately captured by the man.
Yeah,
because he caught up to him.
10 feet is not a lot of feet. How quick can you run 10 feet?
I don't know. Like, pretty quick.
How quick can people run 10 feet? Sorry, I shouldn't put your athleticism into account again.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, if he's moving easily through it, it would just be like 2 or 3 strides to get him.
Yeah, for sure. Especially since like apparently he's just like gliding through the corpse, or not the corpses. Well, kind of corpses, gliding through the bodies that are hanging. Like it's like I am kind of imagining this as the scenario of like in Predators or in Predator 2, where like they're in like the meat in that meat packing like warehouse where like there's a bunch of like cattle strung up and stuff like that. Like that's kind of the vibe I was getting. But it is kind of weird that he just like slinked out. Also, only a foot away from the ground. Like, how small is Max? That he's able to like scuttle underneath without disturbing these bodies from being like a foot. Like that's not to poke hole. Like I do like this story, but not to poke holes in it. But 1 foot gap is not a spacious gap, even for a child.
I mean, you could get your head in
you
there,
know what?
so theoretically, like I could fit my head in a gap like that sideways.
I was saying these things as literally a memory from yesterday of the niece cultist snaking through the stools at our kitchen counter, like a tunnel, and like she was doing that, and I realized like that gap is probably about a foot by a foot.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, like maybe a little bit more, but like not by much. It's probably about a foot by a foot if I had to guess. So, and she's like about 6 or 7 now. So
did you assume that Max was around the same age because you have that?
Honestly, that's probably the case. Yeah.
It's probably a safe age to assume for this, anyways.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 is kind of what I guessed Max was.
Max, anyways.
Yeah, Max.
I mean Max as in the maximum amount of years as well.
Oh.
Thanks. Anyways, I'll move on.
Okay.
Max began to kick the glass of the door harder and harder as the glass cracked inch by inch. He knew the man had heard him because the sound of footsteps was now coming in his direction. He kicked and kicked. And soon the glass was almost shattered. The sound of footsteps was at the door across the room now, and with one last attempt, Max kicked through the glass and climbed through the small opening. So, first off...
slicing himself to ribbons.
First off,
Sorry.
I'm surprised he was able to kick through that door in the first place. It's a glass door.
Yeah.
And he's a kid, so he's small and weak and generally sensitive to self-damage. I feel like he'd be making himself cry after a couple of kicks.
Mm-hmm.
That, or it's just a really, really crappy glass door. Like, really thin, like it's made of sugar glass, like it's movie glass. Like it's made to be broken.
Yeah.
That's the only way he'd be kicking through that thing. Also, as you said, how did he not cut himself up on breaking and also climbing through the hole?
Yeah, especially like a hole that like he just broke through. Like, all right, he's through. Like, yeah, he would definitely get hurt in some capacity.
Yeah, and he's panicked. It's not like he can take his time. He's just gonna crawl through that thing.
Yeah,
like on kicking the glass, he probably should have like screwed up his toes or his ankle or something, and crawling through, a couple of cuts on his arms across his gut a bit. Like he is not getting through that clean.
Like sprained his ankle in the process.
Yeah. Now I'll move on. The man was chasing after him now, his long legs traveling faster and farther than Max's little legs, or little Max's legs were capable of carrying him. Max looked up at the sky. The once purplish clouds now turned gray, the whole landscape having its color sucked out of it and replaced with gray. So I suppose this is all happening just because Max isn't under the influence of the happiness aura that this place emits, so he's seeing it how it truly is, maybe? Or is he literally destroying it?
I kind of went with the route that like because he's there and he's not having fun or having like he doesn't have joy in himself like anymore. This place is reacting by it's feeding off of that negativity, and that is damaging the place.
Yeah, I immediately went with the whole thing was glamored basically because he's not having any of it now. He's seeing it for how it truly is.
Yeah, it does kind of show. I think it does kind of mention that the man is showing him what this place looks like when there is no joy. So like it's almost like the glamour is like this place is horrible and twisted and junky and stuff like that until it's and actually the engine like the thing what the joy and positivity of children is fueling here is actually just a glamour, like a facade.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he's just like, he being the tall man, just like sitting around doing nothing in like the shitty, like decolored area. And then if you start seeing the color starting to grow and get vibrant and things get fixed up, he's like, oh, there's a kid on the way. All right, okay, I need to be nice now. Okay, where's my balloons? All right, I gotta go meet him.
Yeah, I kind of like this. Could actually like the story is actually just a commentary on like happiness is just skin deep, or it's like happiness is just a facade for like the darker turmoil within man.
Went really deep with this.
I did.
But I'll move on from there.
Okay.
He only had 10 more yards until he was upon the escalator, he being Max. He was so close to the railing that he could extend his arm to touch it. His arms are 10 yards long.
It's that scene from Space Jam where like Michael Jordan is like
do the huge like, slam dunk.
Yeah. yeah. I mean, it's probably insinuated to be that he's like like in the gap between those two sentences, he reached the distance
in that period and space.
Yeah, but it's funnier to be critically silly here, just like Michael Jordan did.
Yeah. If there was just something like this is kind of a grammar thing, but if there was just something in there, like the closer and closer he got, he knew he was like almost close enough to touch it. Now he's going to get away from him, and just no, his arm.
Yeah. Also, not to bring up your gripe from a grammar acquisition earlier again, but I'm going to since this is the second time I'm noticing that they use yards. The feet could have also just been changed to yards in this case. Because everything is in yards, and apparently in the story.
Everything should be feet.
No, it could be either or, like you said.
Feet is more universally understood by everyone.
Yeah, fair. but that's not the way of the world all the time.
It is if it's more universally understood by everyone.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.
I'll just I'll stop.
Okay.
I'll stop trying to counter you constantly.
What you do. It's what we do. That's what we do here.
Yeah, that's what people like, right? Like us arguing all the time.
I sure love it. Anyway, moving on. He didn't know what it was. Something about the color of the ball seemed more vibrant since the last he saw them. This is like at the end, obviously. When I read that, the first thing that came to my mind is just probably because he was just in a world of black and white for the past like 10, 20 minutes of chase scene. Yeah. So he's finally seeing color. It could be anything. It could be a desert. Maybe like, whoa, it's so bright.
Yeah, it's like you suddenly appreciate something that you didn't realize before because you were in another place that didn't have that thing.
Mm-hmm. So even though through this whole thing I've been trying to stay like in the lore of it being supernatural and stuff, with this one instance, I'm like, no, it's the mundane reason. It's just because he just came from black and white. That's why.
Fair.
And then to my last note, what truly is the reason that this tall man is making the kids into batteries? Like he said, it's to make the ball pits fun for everyone. But how are the kid batteries affecting that directly? It's based on the end. And Max saying he could have sworn the balls seemed brighter than before and all that. Makes it seem like they simply give the balls their color, which is quite dumb, honestly, since it's surrounded by colorful plastic everywhere already.
I think because like my idea here is that it's not like so much that like the colors have physically become vibrant. I think that it's like more like the place is again like he's like the tall man says like this place fuels children's joy out there in the ball pits, and their joy and fuels this place. So it's like a self-perpetuating like energy machine or like whatever that theoretical device is. Like children's joy at the ball pits and stuff that are connected to this place are fueling this place, and also their souls whenever like one kid comes down here, and then that energy that is being generated at that place is fueling the joy and vibes of the children when they go to play areas and stuff like that. So it's sort of like a weird like magical or like supernatural like
symbiosis.
Symbiosis that's going on here. Like it's a cycling energy cycling sort of situation. Like it's like recharging both of them by like.
I have to disagree because like in the real world, what is the joy of the kids doing to the world below? Like them showing up there, being happy makes the place nice, and he captures them and puts them into batteries. But them being happy on like in meat space on the material plane doesn't do anything for the tall man aside from maybe getting him a paycheck from whoever he's doing this for.
I'm gonna have to disagree like disagree with your disagreement. I think that it is that the tall man, like kind of like how Nathaniel Winter in the park created the park to like gain power and immortality. I think that's kind of what's happening here with the tall man. The tall man is getting the energy here, like from the children, the joy and happiness of children up there, to power his realm, whatever this like this carnival place, and also to keep him like vibrant and alive. Because we see like when Max is running away and like looks back and sees the tall man, he's twisted and rotting and desiccating like death. So like it's showing that like underneath the joy and happiness and the energy that he's being given by the ball pits and stuff like that, he would be desiccating and dying otherwise. Like so it's sort of like a it's not it's symbiotic, but it's also parasitic in a way.
I don't know. Like I get that kids down there have to be happy because then it shows everything happy. And I get that the kids in the battery room are apparently making ball pits more fun than everything else, even though all the things up on the material plane are equally fun. Unless each kid's toy also has its own realm of fuck-uppery. So like slides have a different hellhole as well.
Well, maybe that's like the dark secret of this universe that the ball pit exists in, is like there. This could actually be like the gateway to like a bunch of other stories involving like other like the childhood playthings are actually just the anchor to a weird network of supernatural realms that keep emotion, like positive emotions in chat, like cycling and stuff.
Like the reason that we
Like
enjoy anything is because there's a weird fucked up realm has corpses battering it to fuel our
yeah,
enjoyment of things.
yeah. That is that not horrific? Is that not a horror story?
Yes.
Yeah, I would be down to read more of those kind of stories where it's just like slowly, like it's again it's like the game version where like everything's nice and hunky-dory and like Kirby like art style, and then it gets worse. The paint starts peeling and like things start coming, like the curtain starts getting drawn beyond to show like what the twisted horrible like machinations of the world beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's I would love that as that's to me that's almost cosmic horror in a way. Like that's childhood cosmic horror.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, that's about it for my notes.
Okay. So I suppose we'll move on to final thoughts then. So I really liked this one. It could all be in Max's head while he was unconscious, sure. Or the fun way, for me anyway, he may have actually visited some strange supernatural realm linked to ball pits and restaurant play areas across the world, and there's some creepy cosmic horror conspiracy that ties childhood like wonder and hope and like happiness to this horrible parasitic like demon thing. I'm all for that. I love that idea because like I could use that in as a game fodder, like I mentioned earlier, or like in like I would love to see an expansion of this kind of that kind of world where like it's not just ball pits, like any kind of like childhood joy can be linked to some similar realm, and you could have fun with like playing with that idea. And yeah, it just honestly like that's legitimately that's probably like that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this story is like the whole like idea of an emotion engine, or of like some kind of a recurring emotion engine just for occult designs really gets me. So I like it. So I'm going to recommend this story. Mikey, the E stands for evil. Your verdict.
Well, I like the fantasticalness of it. Though that did, in my mind, make it more of a dream sequence than anything else. So it gains points, but then it loses them.
How dare there be a dream sequence?
And as I stated in my actual thoughts, I would have liked it more if there was a zinger at the end that just sort of continued on something that we've already been told in the story. Like I said before, with the balloon, or the fact that all the ball pits are connected, and then Max is suddenly in a different ball pit.
Yeah,
when he leaves, like
he's not even in like the same restaurant. He's like in like the opposite side of the country that he was in, and like at a completely different restaurant with a ball pit.
Yeah. Like that to me would just more solidify that there's supernatural things going on.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm going to give this a partial recommendation.
Okay. And gamer.
So for me, the concept of it, because I don't fully get the reasoning behind the creature doing this, because like I said jokingly, but not really jokingly, like is he just doing this for a paycheck? Like he works for McDonald's to make the play area more enjoyable, basically. It seemed a bit far-fetched for me. And like with hundreds of kids being taken from ball pits all around the world, all interconnected. Whether or not that would be noticeable by people or not is questionable. Like, we didn't get a solid number. We had hundreds. Did it say hundreds or maybe thousands? Did it go that far?
I know if it said what it said. Give me a second.
It's not saying thousands.
Where's the child? Where's the child room?
It sounds like you're looking through your house. Is it in here? Nope. There's the child room.
Yeah, dozens. Oh, children, dozens, maybe hundreds of them. Yeah, so it's like dozens to hundreds. So,
but yeah, like through what I said, through everything I said, I just said the same thing twice. Haha, what the hell? My brain does not work well. The execution of this isn't 100% with Max being portrayed as kind of a pouty kind of kid, doesn't really want to be around other kids, and then all of a sudden he's super happy. And yeah, I get it, because he's not around kids anymore, but it's too sharp of a change, like from scene to scene. And hell, multiple times scene to scene, it switches scenes in the same paragraph, like very abruptly. So like it could do with a little bit more, I don't want to say padding, but I guess that's what it is, sort of, to kind of cushion the blow in between changes.
I don't think padding is the word. I think it maybe like, I don't know what else to call it.
I know, that's why I said padding.
I know. Yeah, like I don't know what to call it otherwise though. Like it's like some more flavor, maybe some more flavor text, maybe.
More time spent on the flow for flavor text. Yeah, or like scene descriptors.
Like take like if a few extra, like a few little bits more were added onto this, it would like to help to make it a fuller experience, maybe.
Yeah, my big problem was all the descriptions of the scenes. Like, for example, one thing I didn't bring up, the room with the soft serve ice cream machine. Huge, massive room. Nothing in it. In the one corner, there's an ice cream machine. Why? Mm-hmm. Why does he have this giant room, like a gymnasium, with an ice cream machine in the corner, and that's it?
I may have been fabricating shotguns, or
that's what I read.
Like, or no, or assuming things about the premise of the, or about like the power set of this entity. But even from there, before we realized like, oh no, this guy's a bad guy, I was kind of getting the impression that like this place is catered to, it is there's something going on in the behind the scenes. Like I knew that kind of from the get go, because I've read these stories before. But I kind of got the impression that like maybe like it wasn't always a soft serve ice cream machine there. Like this room, like he can change what's in this room. Like and like change like certain facets of this world. So like if it was another kid that he was like bringing in here, and like they wanted something that wasn't ice cream, like they wanted I don't know, something like they wanted to do some mini putt. They'd come into this room and suddenly there's a mini putt, or it's like if it's like a burger, like it's like they want a burger. Suddenly there's a burger dispenser there. Like it changes based on that. But like I think the fact that it is just this weird empty room except for this one thing, it might be both a thing that like it's a tell, like it's part of the glamour, that it's a tell that there's something off about this place, because there's only one thing that can exist in this room, this barren room.
Yeah, and I get why it's there.
Yeah,
because it's there to drug him, and it's next to the door to the child room.
To the children.
So he eats the ice cream, gets knocked out, immediately drags him into the room. I get it. But also, in a real world situation, I would understand it more, because he's like, okay, let me get you away from prying eyes so I can get you. But he's in this weird like liminal space or whatever by himself with this kid. He doesn't need to go inside to trick him and capture him. There could have been an ice cream dispenser outside.
Yeah, I mean, I will give you this, because like it is sort of like we did a story a while back about like the fairy folk that were in like a night carnival kind of thing, and like Yeah, like they were like they were out in the open, like with like their food dispensers and stuff like that. So like it could have easily been like just it was a stall at the in the carnival.
Yeah,
And like this whole like building, like the building with the child room could just be in the main room here.
Yeah.
And it's just off in the distance that that Max sees while he's in the carnival and stuff. And then maybe when he decides not to eat the ice cream and gets and the man turns on him, that's where he runs to because he thinks it's maybe a way of like a place to hide. And then that's where we get like the body room where all the children are. And like he finds out why those like pipes are going up into the sky because they're feeding from the tubes of the children. And then we have the chase scene through the child room, and that's when he escapes. Like he escapes through the same door that he came out of because he realizes there's no way out otherwise. So, sort of do away with the one big empty room with the one little with the one ice cream dispenser because it's kind of not necessary, or like there's a better way of like incorporating it into the setting, I think is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm basically saying that room itself is padding. That's a better use of the word padding because it's just there to slow everything down for no real benefit.
Yeah.
Because the ice cream machine could have been outside. The tubes could have been on the ceiling in the child room because children are hooked up in the child room, so the tubes should be going up in the child room anyways, right?
So honestly, that's where I thought they were from. Like I thought they were like that's where the pipes were coming from because it's in that same building.
Well, maybe, but he sees them in the room with the ice cream machine first.
Oh, that's what you thought?
No,
Okay, I just assumed that they were. It says that they're well because the room is like the child room is in the same building as the large room with the ice cream with the one ice cream dispenser. So I just kind of assumed that that's the pipes were coming from the child room, not from this room, the empty room.
Oh, they may be coming. Okay, they have to be coming from the child room, but they don't necessarily have to be like poking into other rooms. I guess if there's enough of them, then there's only so much room you have to. I guess that could slide.
I think what we're trying to come to here is that like that empty room doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that whole building could just be the child room.
A lot of stuff in this story could be streamlined. Like I found myself tripping over stuff a lot and not understanding the descriptions, having to redo the descriptions in my head. So there was a lot of hurdles that I had to fight over to try to attempt to like the story. And that being said, getting through it, it's an okay story. It's just it doesn't really do too much unique on its own. Like we had to theorize ways to make it stand out more, like having it be like all kids enjoyment stuff is because of some underground network of these creatures siphoning the souls of kids to keep the world happy as this like weird dark happiness situation. Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah. But that's just us like speculating on a story, which is what stories are supposed to do sometimes.
Yeah. And
is help create that kind of like get those creative juices flowing from the reader and the audience. Like it makes you want to wonder about things. So.
Yeah. And with the kid being as young as he is, he probably shouldn't have been able to get out of that situation at all. Like every single hurdle he would have died at, So if I felt it hard to stay connected to it all. So overall, I can't really recommend it. I like parts of the idea of it, but the execution of it, I just kept stumbling over it, and I couldn't pick myself up enough to stay in it.
Fair enough. So, long story short, you won't recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, 1.5 out of 3 for this episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, maybe Tumblr, if I ever get around to refreshing that. You can also talk to us on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long. And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things online. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! If you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to the listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. Or we'd just be having a conversation with each other. And just recording it and no one's listening. That'd be weird.
Right.
And if you didn't write these stories, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about and speculate and argue over constantly.
That is what we do.
Yeah. We do have fun with it. So thank you all the same. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.